The Shin Megami Tensei franchise is one of the most thought-provoking video game series to ever exist. What makes Shin Megami Tensei so beloved by fans is that there's a topic for everyone to latch onto. The incredibly popular spin-off franchise, Persona, covers a wide range of social issues and topics with such delicate care that you can't help but get enveloped and interested in the story. They cover dealing with loss, depression, gender politics, toxic masculinity, sexual identity crisis, sexual harassment, rape, family obligations, broken families, and even the complexities of relationships. The characters feel real, and that's what draws people into the franchise. Today, we'll be covering one of the mainline games, Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne for the PlayStation 2, and soon, the Nintendo Switch. As mentioned earlier, Persona covers social issues, or micro-system issues that are meant to have the audience question society on the ground level. Essentially how people interact and how we perceive certain situations. Like, for example, are there really that many ideologies in the police force? But you see, Shin Megami Tensei is a bit different. The mainline series of games covers larger issues, or macro-system issues. These include things like philosophy, religion, systems of government, and the value of humanity. So when Persona is covering issues like sexual identity crisis, they use a flamboyant medium to illustrate the frustration brought upon by the facade of toxic masculinity. Shin Megami Tensei, on the other hand, is having you go on a spiritual journey to find the correct ideology for humanity. Is it strict authoritarianism, communism, anarchy, or basic social Darwinism? Or are we just meant to destroy ourselves? These are the big questions that have been studied since antiquity, and will likely be argued for all eternity. Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne covers these issues in a very unique way. You see, the planet is destroyed during the very first few minutes of the game, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. A terrorist known as Hikawa, a member of the cult of Gaia, created a device that brings about the apocalypse. The world is turned into a barren wasteland, humanity is destroyed, and the planet inverts into itself into a hypothetical construct known as a Dyson sphere, referred to as a vortex world. Within the center of this vortex world is Kagutsuchi, a fragment of Yahweh that can bring about the birth of a new world if given a well-constructed ideology or reason. The three reasons are Shijima, Musubi, and Yosuga. Those three humans are Chiaki Hayasaka, your female classmate and childhood friend, which represents Yosuga, Isamu Nita, your male classmate, who represents Musubi, and whose design inspired Naoto Shirogane from Persona 4. Lastly, there's the terrorist Hikawa, who represents Shijima. Each of these reasons are based on philosophical ideologies meant to be the framework for humanity going forward. The prerequisite to have an ideology accepted is to have Kagutsuchi take in your idea, which is meant to represent the approval of God. You need a proof of strength, which is typically the sponsoring of a powerful demon, or just being very powerful yourself. You can't have an idea led by a weakling, you see. Lastly, you need to be human. If you wish to be the guide for humanity going forward, it would make sense for you to be a human. Starting with the first philosophy of Shijima, it is meant to represent one of stillness and unity, a world of perfect harmony without passion, conflict, or destruction. We are all one mind, a collective unconscious. Think of the scene from Evangelion where everyone gets turned into orange juice. It's fundamental egalitarianism without any nuance. We all exist as one being without pain or need for individuality. This brings into question about the importance of individuality. Is it important? As seen with Hikawa, the ability to think for yourself and make your own decisions can bring about great change in the world. Perhaps his actions were meant to stop another person like Hikawa in the future, because his actions reflect the dangerous potential of man. This is an inherent hypocrisy and fallacy with his belief. To attain this world of unity, one man had to go maverick and set in forth a motion of great passion to bring about the destruction of the previous world. Hikawa's actions do not reflect the standard of the world he wishes to create. However, is it a bad world? All ideologies have their pros and cons. A world of equality means that a society has no racism, no hatred, or conflict. But conversely, it is also a society of inaction. It has no incentives to move forward, and there's no need to compete, which would be a society of stillness. And what would that look like? We'll never know since the game never shows us. Isamu Nita's reason is Musubi, which is meant to represent isolation. Every person would be alone and would be able to create their own world, live the way they want to, and be their own king. This ideology sounds great on paper if you're a survivalist, but Isamu is not. He's a coward. Perhaps the reasons are brought upon by a lack of awareness, or maybe they're fueled by their experiences in the vortex world. In the game, you need to constantly save Isamu. He depends on you to save him, and that fuels his desire to create a world of loneliness. The thing is, if Persona has taught me anything, human beings can't live alone. We need each other to open up our views and understanding and grow as people. Loneliness is completely antithetical to society. No man is an island. Lastly is Chiaki Hayasaka, who is the reason of Yosuga, which is meant to represent social Darwinism, or the survival of the fittest. Only the strong are allowed to walk the earth with this reason. However, the hypocrisy with Chiaki was that she was a weakling from the start. In a world full of demons, and she is a frail high school girl, she had to use her wits and the ability to hide to survive. I don't think that's very strong. In fact, what qualifies as strong? Are you allowed to be weak in some areas and not in others? Are you allowed to be weak in general at the start? How many strong people can there be? If there are many equally strong people, are you collectively strong or equally weak? This philosophy really brings about the idea of Highlander, where there can only be one.
There can be only one.
There is importance of being strong. I don't think that's deniable. And having power in a world where people are wicked, that's important. But there needs to be some understanding of said strength in the context of a new world. Those were the three main reasons, but there are other ones. But they fail to meet the requirements of Kagutsuchi. For example, your teacher, Yuko Takao, wants to change the world for the better, but can't formulate a quality reason. She's able to acquire a demon sponsor to fuel any idea, but her fallacy is indecision. With all the power to make a decision, she's meant to represent slacktivism and the general public. Many people have this feeling of wanting the world to be a better place, but just saying, I want the world to be a better place, isn't a system, or plan, or anything. There are many people who have more money than they know what to do with and choose to sit on it without giving back to the world. Sometimes it's out of malice, but other times, like with Yuko Takao, it's simply due to incompetency. The other reason that we're shown in the game is with the mannequin Futomimi. His reason was that of world peace, or his definition of it. Everyone is equal and allowed to pursue their own happiness as they see fit. It's a step up from Yuko Takao's non-ideal, but we're talking about the basic idea of anarchy. If my happiness, for example, comes from stealing your belongings, then you, as the victim, need to be okay with that because you would be impeding my form of happiness. There needs to be some type of order or fallback plan to this ideology. Anarchy creates a power vacuum where someone needs to take control to lead people. Just think about it. Everyone's free to do what they want, and with all that freedom, people want to abuse it. So it creates a position where someone's like, I need to take advantage of this. Because there's always going to be weak and strong people. And this is illustrated in the game. This is represented when Chiaki murders Futomimi in cold blood. Futomimi would have failed regardless, as he was not human, but a mannequin. An artificial human made of mud and thoughts. He's meant to represent the oblivious dreamer with no power. Those that mean well, but are quickly stomped out by those that are stronger. As you can tell, each reason has their own merits, and all have literal hypocrisies with the actions of each character. There's also no nuance to their beliefs. In Nocturne, you can deny all their beliefs and destroy them. You are able to metaphorically and physically overcome societal ideals. But here's a caveat. You can't make your own reasons. As stated earlier, you're a demon, and Kagutsuchi, the governing body that presides over all of this, doesn't like you people. This is a clear metaphor for racism. You are more qualified, more cultured, and have proven your strength and disproven other ideologies. This is meant to represent the illusion of choice in the world. Whatever ideology you accept or reject, there will always be a bigger body of power that is ultimately pulling the strings. It's like a voting machine. Republican or Democrat, you have to choose one. I mean, you can choose to just walk away, but that means you're not participating in the decision-making of the future. That's why the core lesson of Shin Megami Tensei is fuck the system. You can choose to punch God in the face and say no. All those three reasons that were back there, all were bad. And in fact, you are also bad. I don't agree with any of this. It's a symbolic representation of how humanity constantly has to make extremes, and how it's fucking annoying. We need nuance in our society, not extremes and strawmans. I think each of the three reasons had some good stuff in them. Shijima had us all equal under the law. Musubi had us be independent to pursue our ideals. Yosuga had us value strength and competition, and Futomimi had us remind ourselves that happiness is the ultimate goal of life. We need to come together and work through our issues and not compartmentalize each as their own separate option. Because we have a tendency of doing that. Compartmentalization. We villainize the other side so much, and only one choice is meant to be the right choice with this mindset. Earlier, I gave mention to Republican or Democrat. Personally, I feel like I want more options that reflect me as a voter. But you don't have that choice. You're looking at the option that destroys the country less. Nuance is the core lesson of Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, and it's a lesson we desperately need in real life. There's a variety of social issues that have just extreme sides and no side wants to cave in. For example, pro-life or pro-choice. If you're pro-life, then you must think that women have no right over their bodies. But if you're pro-choice, then you must like killing babies. No, I'm pro-life because I believe the baby inside the mother has rights. But I can understand the need for abortion in the cases of non-viability, rape, or incest. But you don't hear people speaking rationally with a nuanced response. They villainize the other side. You're wrong for being pro-life, or you're wrong for being pro-choice. Another example, if you're pro-gun control, then you're against the Constitution and should leave the country, apparently. If you're anti-gun control, then you want more school shooters. I believe we should have logical gun control so we don't have as many school shooters, and that we can prevent more accidental crime from incompetent gun owners. If you're pro-immigration, then you like Americans losing jobs to underpaid immigrants. And if you're anti-immigration, you're racist for not allowing people to enjoy the US. I'm pro-immigration because this country was founded by immigrants, and as long as they're here legally, they deserve the same opportunities as everyone else. Don't be mad at an immigrant taking your job. Be mad at the employer for paying an immigrant less and not wanting a more qualified employee. That is to say, if you are even qualified. If you're pro-war, then you like the destruction of other countries. And if you're anti-war, you're apparently a tree-hugging hippie that wants the terrorists to win. You see, I'm anti-war because I think they're costly, and we've only really historically used them for land expansion. Now, they're used to generate money by selling weapons to both sides and to fuel government bodies with lobbyists. Nuance is important. Without it, all you have is rhetoric. I don't think the day will come where we have a system that is truly perfect. Ultimately, no system is perfect, and it leads one to ask, are we supposed to just crumble? The Shin Megami Tensei franchise regularly deals with the apocalypse, and I don't know what is in the future for humanity. But I hope it's not destruction. Hopefully I got you interested in Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, and you guys give it a play. This game attacks the core of the human condition. What is our reason for existence? How do we push forward as a species? And what does tomorrow look like? Thank you everyone for watching. Please subscribe and drop a comment. I read all of them, even the mean ones. And with that being said, have a good day. As I was writing the script for this video, Nintendo Direct announced Shin Megami Tensei 5, Thank You, and Nocturne. I really wish I got this video out sooner, so it could be like the whole, oh wow, god of timing thing, like I did with the Handler video. You know, she was attacked by Devil Joe, and that was the reason that he was delayed, was for those cutscenes. But yeah, you know, it just happens, right? God of timing.